All right, I'm going to level with you. I am exhausted. I am completely, utterly here. My camera's not even in the right spot. I am exhausted. I woke up at 4:30 this morning because we had the network game on stream today, and that has to start at 11, and I had to run 21 miles, and so I woke up really early so that I could eat and then run. And I did run. It ended up being 21.3 miles. And now I'm sitting here. And so I don't really have the patience to deal with all this stupid shit. And yet I am dealing with this stupid shit. It's not really that stupid. I mean, we didn't know what was going to happen until we got into it. But I feel comfortable saying that at least early on, this Champions League sucks compared to the other one. Right now, I realize that this is like a very fair way of doing it. 4 more teams get in, and that there is the possibility, honestly, maybe even the strong possibility that final day or final 2 matches of mayhem with everybody trying to find their spot in the table is going to be tremendously exciting. You're going to want to pull up like 5 or 6 matches to keep track of all the teams that could potentially make the knockouts in the Champions League. And it's going to be, really interesting, really fun to watch. But right now, the way the Champions League is set up does absolutely nothing for me. Right? The only way to follow Champions League matches, and I don't know if I'm alone in this. Maybe I'm just, I'm off on one side and I've not gotten into Champions League football this year as much as past years, and that just happens to be a coincidence with the big changeover. But it feels like the only way to actually get into the Champions League format at all is to follow the storylines of interesting teams. But those are not, made is obvious, right? You end up with your interesting groups that you're like, oh, I want to watch every match in this group. Well, now all of that is gone, right? You're able to pull up the groups and you've got these neat groups of 4 and you can see teams' paths through. But now you have situations like you've got Atletico Madrid. They played today at home against Lille. They lost 3-1. The context that is missing from that is that Lille now vanishes from ever mattering again for Atletico Madrid. And perhaps the most frustrating thing for me following this is that I don't know who Atletico Madrid's, I have to go through this whole process, right? And this could just be me being lazy here, but I have to go through this entire giant process to now look up who Atletico Madrid is going to be playing, right? In order to try and create some sort of drama here. Like I don't know, before, in the olden days, old times, you could look at a group and go, oh, well, they haven't played that team yet. So they're going to play them twice. They got that team once, so that team once. Oh, that's going to be pretty tough. But Atletico Madrid could just be playing Slovan Bratislava for the next 6 matches, or, have this road of easy matches. So while I'm looking at the table and Atletico Madrid is currently, outside of I'm on the wrong table. So that probably is not going to help me out very much. If I look at the actually correct table and find out that Atletico Madrid is in 27th and you only get into the knockouts by finishing in the top 24 spots, I don't know where the story is going, and maybe you weren't paying attention to what Atletico Madrid did in the previous match day or 2, because it just is easier as a human with a brain to internalize information when you're taking it in groups of 4 instead of just being bombarded with 18 matches every day and trying to remember what happened in all 18 of those matches. There's just something underneath. It's like an undercurrent, right? It's a riptide that's pulling me out to sea when I'm watching this new Champions League format, where I just feel like I cannot follow the stories nearly as well as I should be able to. I mean, look at RB Leipzig. They've lost all 3 matches, and I only know that because I happen to be looking at this. RB Leipzig's a good team. That's a top 4 finishing team in Germany that has now lost each of its first 3 matches. Now I got to wander over here and be like, well, it was Liverpool, Juventus, and Atletico Madrid. Even though Atletico Madrid doesn't seem that great, that's 3 very difficult matches. So now I got to click on RB Leipzig and be like, well, fixtures. And then, well, we're only looking at Champions League. They've got Inter, they've got Villa, they've got Sporting, they've got Sturm Graz. Honestly, very, very difficult draw that they've been left with here, even ending with Celtic, who seems to be competent, be able to bend down and touch its toes, at least in this competition. So now I'm informed a little more about RB Leipzig's current situation, but before we get to the last match day, and you know exactly what you're looking for, you know exactly what matches you're tuned into, it's kind of just, it's like too much. It's just like white noise. You're just bombarded with score lines like Man City 5, Sparta Prague 0, and it just, goes right over your head. I couldn't tell you where Sparta Prague was in the table. I couldn't tell you their prospects of qualification. And honestly, even if you are literally the worst team, you're Slovan Bratislava, you are now 1 win out of qualification after 3 Champions League matches. If Slovan Bratislava turns up and wins a match, it's on 3 points. Right? It's like everybody is still alive after 3 matches. There isn't as much, that's something else I hadn't really thought about. There isn't as much drama hanging on every single match, particularly these early matches. Atletico Madrid's lost 2 of its first 3 matches. And hell's not freezing over. I mean, they're tied on points with qualifying spots. It's just their goal difference that's holding them back. The point of the Champions League, at least in my mind, is that every Champions League match should be high drama. Now, were some matches in the Champions League group stage when you had Sparta Prague playing against Manchester City, low drama? Yeah, of course. Right? But Sparta Prague obviously earned the right to be on that stage, 32 teams instead of 36 now, and it earned the right to get its ass beat by Manchester City, which is, wonderful right that you're able to hang on to, but there is less weight on individual Champions League games. I mean, let's be honest here. Where's like Liverpool is on 9 points with 3 wins out of 3. It is entirely possible Liverpool could lose its next 5 matches. Literally lose its next 5 matches, finish with 9 points, and go through as one of the top 24 teams. That sucks. That sucks. Now, I know they didn't do this for any competitive reason. They did this because it puts more matches on the table. Right? They did this because they were going to be able to make more money selling 2 more matches played by each team. Anybody that attempts to convince you anything else is wrong. They're lying or they don't know what they're talking about. Right? These are all financially driven decisions. Doesn't matter how many times Rodri blows out his ACL, they will still be financially driven decisions that just force these guys to play more matches, force these clubs to play more matches. Because if you want to compete in the Champions League, which every club on the planet wants to do, that's why they're creating the Club World Cup so FIFA can compete against UEFA's Champions League in terms of biggest club tournament in the world. Right now, they're, because who doesn't want to watch Auckland City lose 5-0 to Manchester City, right? We already get that in this Champions League. We're just, creating another club in another city somewhere. But yeah, allegedly the drama is, when you get in the top 8 so that you miss a knockout round. But the real drama is, are you out of the competition or not? And we're going to play 8 matches for only 12 teams to be eliminated. And for the clubs up near the top of the table, there just isn't that drama. There isn't that importance. They might be playing the music, right? The excellent orchestral accompaniment. They might be playing the operatic song, right? The song that will always raise my blood pressure and always get me up out of my seat and ready to go. But then once I realize it's the new Champions League format and it is a match between, Stade Brestois and Feyenoord, who are both likely to qualify, and the pomp and circumstance, it just isn't there anymore. The group stage was so simple. It was, you're basically locked in a cage with 3 other teams, and you got to finish in the top 2 to go to the knockouts. If you finish as the top 1, you're a seeded team. We've lost that, and we've lost some of the pageantry of the Champions League night, unfortunately. The jury was out. I entered this with an open mind. You guys know I entered this with an open mind. I made a video saying that it could, we have to experience this. We have to experience this in real life and watch it and keep track of it to know exactly how it feels. And I'm telling you, after 3 match days, it doesn't feel as good. There isn't as much drama. I'm not able to follow the storylines nearly as well. You just jump into individual matches if you like football, if you like soccer. You just jump into individual matches just to watch them, just to take them in. I watched Lille against Atletico Madrid. That's why I know about Atletico Madrid's storyline. Right, but until I looked at the friggin' table, I didn't know Stade Brestois was in the top 8. That's a magical storyline. They're doing it against Bayer Leverkusen. They're getting the draw. Look at France go. If it was group stages, you'd be able to look at a group and be like, oh my goodness, Stade Brestois is top of the group after 3 matches. You'd be like, oh, they've got these matches coming up. They're against these teams. Impressive they've been able to do it against these teams. I couldn't tell you who Stade Brestois played in the other 2 matches. Part of that's me having the memory of a goldfish, apparently, because I know at least one of the other matches played by Stade Brestois was interesting to me. And I did, pay attention to it and cover it. And it's going to bother me if I don't look it up. I think it was the Sturm Graz game. But yeah, it's like, okay, Stade Brestois is in the top 8. They beat Salzburg, who doesn't have a point. Sturm Graz, who doesn't have a point. And they pulled a draw from behind against Bayer Leverkusen, which in my opinion is their best result. Okay, now I know you got to be an internet sleuth, an internet detective to have an understanding of this Champions League now. And again, the final day could make up for all of it. I think it's going to be awesome. I think it's going to be chaotic, and I think it's going to be fun. But right now, you really don't need to pay attention to the Champions League until like January. That's just what it feels like.